It's shocking.
Tonight, an Indigenous family is targeted with hate delivered right to their front door.
There wouldn't be any right way to using our language out of context.
And a Mohawk mother asks why people in the arts are trying to steal her daughter's name. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Bridgen. The Saskatchewan government is set to deliver an official apology to 60 Scoop survivors. We asked one survivor her thoughts leading up to Monday's address. APTN's Amber Bernard has the story.
Another one.
Lynn Thompson has been advocating for survivors of the 60 Scoop since 1981, collecting items along the way. She's a survivor herself.
I, being 3.5 years old, running with my sister on my back and my little sister in my arm, booting it to the bush because we were told, you ever see white people, those cars drive up, run as fast as you can. And I remember running, and in one fell scoop, a white guy picked us up and threw us in the trunk of the car. Hence why we call it 60 Scoop.
Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe is scheduled to deliver an apology Monday in Regina.
So I really hope that this apology is sincere and we can make next steps to prevent more of our children in foster care.
Thompson says survivors of the 60 Scoop live between two worlds, feeling they don't belong in either.
We're still struggling. We're still trying to come home. I want to go home.
She hopes to see community leaders officially welcome survivors back home.
I love being brown. I want to come home. And I hope that our leadership in doing this, and also with our brown leadership, welcome us home. Tell us we're welcome to that beautiful circle one more time.
Amber Bernard, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
We want to hear what you think. Here's how you can continue the conversation. You can send your emails to news@aptn.ca. You can find us online at aptnnews.ca and on youtube.com/aptn news. You can also follow APTN News on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more Indigenous news. Well, it was an awful way to start the new year. An Indigenous family in Leduc, Alberta found an anonymous letter stuck in their railing on New Year's Day. It was eerily similar to one left for an Indigenous family in another Edmonton suburb last fall. Both letters urged the families to go back to the reserve. Michelle Assiniboine has owned this home for 20 years. While they've had some vandalism and anonymous complaints to city bylaw officers about their lawn and sidewalks, the letter was the first in-your-face racism they've experienced in a long time.
The schools in the area are really awesome, and any daycares or programs we've been involved in have been really welcoming and amazing. We have long-term friends here, and so do my kid. Everyone's grown up here, so we have a lot of support and a really great community.
The typed letter said, "We do not like your kind here," and complained that too many people live in the home, ruining the neighborhood. The 5-bedroom home houses 6 people. It said they should go back to the reserve. "We gave you land and you need to respect the generosity."
There's some anger and there's some sadness. Some people are scared. A lot of us, we don't really know what to think of it. I mean, it's shocking.
The letter is all too similar to a hate-filled one an Indigenous family received in nearby St. Albert last fall. It prompted them to relocate to another part of that city.
My kids can't be here. That's the bottom line.
Deputy Mayor Bill Hamilton was quick to condemn the Leduc letter. "We do not tolerate any kind of hateful behavior," he said in a statement. "We are working with the RCMP to ensure the appropriate steps are taken to investigate this letter and ensure the family's safety." Police are looking into the letter and the bylaw complaints to see if the same person is responsible, and Victims Services has reached out to the family. We need to take a quick break, but there's more news to come, and here's a look at tomorrow's weather. On the East Coast, we've got 1 in Fredericton and rain, 4 and cloudy in Halifax. Inukjuak is minus 29 and clear. Kuujjuaq minus 19 and clear. Chibougamau's minus 3 in snow. Montreal is plus 3 in rain. Sarnia, London, Windsor are 6 and sunny. North Bay is 1. Big Trout Lake minus 7 in snow. Minus 1 in Thunder Bay. Minus 24 and clear in Churchill. Minus 16 and sunny in the Paw. Dauphin's in at minus 1 and a mix of sun and cloud. 3 in Brandon and sunny and cloudy. Minus 11 in North Battleford. Minus 8 in Saskatoon. Minus 2 in Swift Current. Uranium City's clear at minus 22. Minus 7s for L'Orange and Buffalo Narrows with a mix of sun and cloud. Welcome back. Like many tribal people, Mohawks consider the name given to them to be sacred. Recently, Gahande Horn-Miller discovered that her daughter's Mohawk name was being used without permission in a film script. She joined me last month from our Ottawa bureau. Gahande, thanks for joining us. Can you explain, first of all, to us the importance of Mohawks that Mohawk people place on naming their newborns?
Well, when a child is born, it's up to the family and the clan mothers to determine that child's name, and each child is given a unique name that is usually associated with their birth. So they hold that name, they carry that name for their entire life until the time that they pass on. And when they pass on, there's actually a ceremony that takes place where the name is taken back and given back to the clan for use by another baby that's coming. So our names are very specific to the individual, they're specific to their birth circumstances, and so they hold a lot of meaning for our families and for the individuals that hold them. So tell us what happened recently to your daughter, and the unauthorized use of her name. Well, last weekend I woke up to a message from my daughter, my oldest daughter, where someone had sent her a message on Instagram, a filmmaker who had written a script where the main character was half Mohawk and was given the name of her. So her name is Garniokohe, and the title of the movie was given the name She Holds Up the Sky, which is not an accurate interpretation of that Mohawk name. What is the Mohawk name? What does it mean? Her name is, it means she takes the sky out of the water. Okay. So specifically, that's what it means. Now, that name was given to her by my mother, so her grandmother, her Dada, and a great aunt who has now passed on. And so she was very upset and asked for my assistance in dealing with this problem, with this issue. And I saw it for what it was right away, that it struck very deeply to the core of myself and the rest of my family members that someone would take someone's name and use it for something. So in this message that had been sent, she had also asked how to say it properly and also asked for more information about Mohawk culture. So it was really an affront to our family. Is there a way, I mean, what would be the protocol of doing something? If you are a non-Indigenous artist and you want to use a Mohawk name or something in your work, is there a right way of doing it? Well, at this point, I would say no. There wouldn't be any right way to using our language out of context. So these names are very sacred to the individual. So if you were to ask, at most I could probably say, come to our community, ask about our culture, learn who we are, learn about our naming practices, and begin to understand why they're so important. And I think out of that, they'll begin to understand and perhaps do things differently. Also, it begs question, why are they telling our stories? Why we should be the ones telling our stories. Is there a lesson to be learned in all of this? Yes, I would say ask. Always ask, instead of just presume that these names are there for the taking or our language is there for the taking. In fact, the UNESCO this year, 2019, is the year of World Indigenous languages. So this is a good time to start changing how people are approaching us and approaching our languages, and misrepresenting them and misusing them.
This is, I read that you pointed out that this should have happened at the beginning of the process, not the process and then coming back to ask questions. Is there something, are you seeing anything, I know in universities and stuff there seems to be a movement towards doing these, acknowledging some protocols and doing things in a proper way. Are we not seeing that in arts fields quite yet?
I think it's lacking in the arts field. There's a huge movement in universities, I would say for the last 15, 20 years, in universities where students are being taught how to do research ethically. There's the OCAP guidelines that we ask our students to follow, that we have to follow as well. Pretty strict research protocols, and everyone's held accountable. Now, I haven't seen the same thing in the arts field. I think there's a lot of misappropriation that goes on, and that's a serious thing that needs to be addressed.
Well, hopefully 2019 gives us a little bit of that. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing this story with us.
You're very welcome. Ona.
From healthcare recruits to recreational cannabis and disputes over wild rice. 2018 was an eventful year in the province of Ontario. APTN's Annette Francis brings us a recap of some of the headline grabbers.
Some medical students from McGill University kicked off the year by participating in a new program with a grassroots Indigenous approach to healthcare. According to Dr. Ogisto Horn, this partnership with Akwesasne is a way to recruit new doctors. It also gives them first-hand experience working in a First Nation.
So it's a little bit more grassroots rather than just learning from the doctor. And then, of course, with the traditional people and doing cultural activities in the community, doing some volunteer work, whatever comes up. There are a lot of things that happen in the community.
In February, Peterborough, Ontario artists came together to raise funds for Colton Bushy's families. The 22-year-old was shot and killed on a Saskatchewan farm. Gerald Stanley was acquitted of second-degree murder in Bushy's death, sparking outrage across the country.
We raise money for Colton Bushy's family. We think about all of these injustices, not just from today, but from generations past, and it motivates me personally, to want to do more, to try to build relationships with people so that we can start those talks about what real justice looks like for Indigenous people.
The month of April brought pot smokers back to the lawn of Parliament 6 months before the Cannabis Act became law. Alex Newcomb expressed his feelings about the legislation.
We're asking for a free, fair, and open market for all Canadians. I mean, realistically, there's no reason it should be restricted any more than tomatoes. At the end of the day, it's harmless, it's helpful, it's consumed in raw form, it's non-psychoactive, so I mean, it's really a harmless plant.
By the time the cannabis bill received royal assent in June, dispensaries were already popping up on some Ontario First Nations, but some were not for it. In July, Chief McLeod of Nipissing First Nation prohibited any sales.
We don't plan to rush into it, and I believe our community supports that we need to make sure that anything that comes into our community is safe for the kids and has some type of system in place that regulates the quality and control of it.
October 17th marked the legalization of recreational marijuana. A big concern for Elder Ferdinand Papabsway of Whitefish River First Nation. His community also put a moratorium in place.
Everybody's in there for the Sonia. You know, they're not even thinking about the future of the little ones that are on reserve. Or any place in big centers, Sudbury, Thunder Bay. They're not thinking about those young people.
In November, tensions between cottagers on Pigeon Lake and Indigenous people heated up once again over wild rice. It grows in Pigeon Lake, located on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. Things came to a head when cottagers began pulling what they call a nuisance weed from the rice beds. Elder Doug Williams from Curve Lake First Nation says the growth of cottages is invasive.
I only wish that the Canadian government would look at this plant and make it a heritage plant and protect it forever. Because we're going to have these unscrupulous people with their own ideas, only advancing the increase of the cost of their properties, and it all adds up to me a very just not much thought given it.
It's an issue that will carry on into the new year until the solution is found. Plans are underway for a 3-month consultation process between the government officials, First Nations, and community members. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Ottawa.
We are going to go north for a recap. That's after the break, but first, here's the rest of tomorrow's weather forecast. To northern Alberta, we have -13 and snow in high level, -11 and Fort McMurray and sunshine. -4 and snow in Edmonton, +1 in Calgary and sunny, +4 in Lethbridge. 6s for Campbell River, 8s for Vancouver and Victoria. We've got rain out on the west coast. -20 and snow in Dease Lake, -4 and snow in Smithers. -28 and clear in Old Crow. Dawson City is -32 and clear. -22 in Whitehorse. -18 in Norman Wells. -14 in Fort Simpson. Tuck is in at -19 and clear. Colville Lake, -22 and clear. 27, -27 in Sachs Harbor. -32 in Baker Lake. -33 in Chesterfield. And Arviott's in at -26 and clear. -27 in Clyde River. -30 in Igloolik and clear skies. Welcome back. Nunavut covers 1/5 of Canada's landmass, but is unlike any other region of the country in many respects. The territory has had its ups and downs, victories and losses in 2018, and all in a way unique to Nunavummiut. Our Kent Driscoll shows you the year that was in Canada's youngest territory.
Politics. 2018 was the year full-blown Southern Canadian-style political fighting dominated Nunavut's headlines, and it went on all year long. Paul Quassa was chosen as premier in November of 2017. By June of 2018, he was ousted in a 13-2 vote, removed by his cabinet and the regular members of the Assembly for his alleged autocratic management style. The first ever Nunavut premier removed from office. Here's former Premier Quassa, moments after being informed he wasn't going to be premier anymore.
Well, it's the democracy at work, and that's what Nunavut is all about. It's about democracy.
The very next day, the Assembly voted Joe Savikita as Nunavut premier.
I feel humbled, but I feel very good. And I'm honored that the MLAs have entrusted me to take on the premiership, and I won't let them down.
But one of the members who voted for Savikita, Iqaluit MLA Pat Angnakak, thinks she was let down by the new premier. Months later, when asked about a contentious housing policy for senior government of Nunavut staff, Angnakak answered, truthfully, using a cabinet document the premier wanted kept quiet. She was stripped of her portfolio, and she resigned cabinet. While the politics were brutal, the art was beautiful, and it was a banner year for Inuit artists. Iqaluit's own jerry cans were nominated for 2 Juno Awards and performed this song on the awards show. We also got to meet some Nunavut art notables who didn't grab the national headlines. We met Josie Pitzulak during an artist festival here in Iqaluit. Check out the artistic fix he made for his glasses.
It's made out of ivory. I was thinking that maybe I should put something on to make it more wearable.
Sadly, Pitzula died a few months after this interview. Thanks for sharing your art with us. Inuit art is big business, and this year a local businesswoman received a first. Lori Idlout became the first Inuk authorized to use the Igloo tag, which designates authentic Inuit art.
It's exciting for me because I get to be the first for something. I think all human beings like to be the first for something.
But this year in Inuit art, like so many other years, was the year of Ashivak. Kanujuak Ashivak made the most famous print in Inuit art, the Enchanted Owl. This year, an award was named in her honor. A print of Enchanted Owl sold for over $200,000, a new record for a Canadian print, and the new cultural center in her hometown of Cape Dorset opened, where the people still remember what she was like.
She was extraordinary. She was very kind. She's never had anything bad to say about anybody. You know, she was kind of old-fashioned, but, you know, also very famous.
It seems that when things go bad in Nunavut, they go really bad. And we faced our share of disasters this year. In June, prisoners here at the Baffin Correctional Center rioted. Total cost, $1.5 million when you include shipping inmates south while the jail was repaired. In September, it was a more personal disaster. After years of couch surfing, the Tagalok family moved into a tent outside of the Nunavut Legislative Assembly, where they remained for months.
I heard someone waited 13 years and received their keys this week. If we have to wait another 8 years in this, our children will be taken from us.
This one has a happy ending. The Tagaloks are now in a home because Pitsula here landed a federal job with housing. She had spent a decade working for the government of Nunavut without any housing. In October, a windstorm left Iqaluit looking like a war zone with gusts of up to 140 kilometers per hour. The conditions tore metal like tissue paper. Most of the damage has since been cleaned. Less than a month later, Iqaluit's largest retailer, the North Mart, burned for 22 hours. Residents feared the worst, but the main part of the store was saved by Iqaluit firefighters. 9 days after this, the store reopened.
I'm excited for the store to reopen.
Well, what's exciting with the store reopening?
It's a big store based for groceries, and I miss that.
Next year holds a huge milestone for Nunavut. It'll be Nunavut's 20th birthday on April 1st, and residents are going to be forced to confront a very hard-to-answer question. Is Nunavut better or worse off after 20 years of separation from the Northwest Territories? That's a huge debate to come, and we'll be bringing it to you right here. Kent Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
That is your news for this Friday, January 4th. I'm your host, Melissa Ridgen, and I will see you back here tomorrow for APTN News Weekend. I leave you with this. Zigwang Tabodang wows a small crowd at a youth camp in Muskoka, Ontario. Have a great night.
Got you